Federica, Luoni, come here close to me, working for Lipu. Let's shake our hands, even if I already know you. But so let's start by talking about the Lipu aim. Lipu defends the flora and fauna, especially the bird ones. Well, just to give you an idea, is well, you would like to organize a concert on the beach. Well, Lipu says actually here, particular bird lives. So I'm sorry, you can't. We perfectly know that every life, every element of biodiversity is linked to what is surrounding us. So actually, birds are very important because they really represent how much biodiversity is present in a certain habitat and place. So what have you done so far? Well, thank you very much, Matteo. In our project, we wanted to have a constructive role. In general, we are those who annoy. She annoys. As for the example I was giving to you before about the constant, but well, actually in Lipo, during this project, the first thing we wanted to do was to have a proactive role in terms of actions to protect biodiversity and also to form people and the training activities. Our aim was to identify several target species in the frame of the project, and we immediately focused on 3 main targets. So birds living in forests, and we also asked ERSAF for some help, as ERSAF was already working on habitats, and we stepped in to work with them. And 2 other fields, important fields, domains. So the first one was the wet habitat and all the actions to herons that are the most representative bird. It's also the first species, if I'm not wrong, that Lombardy protected at the beginning of the 80s. And then we have some swamp birds and other birds that actually live close to rivers. We also focused on another problem that might not be so well known, but it's actually essential to protect some species like the eagle owl. That is the impact of against the suspended cables. And there was another intervention that was to inform our citizens. We think that problems are caused by building new things, houses, etc. But also our behavior can disturb our birds, like concerts on beaches, and not just at the seaside, but even close to rivers. There are many species that can be disturbed by our behaviors, but it can also happen in the mountains. Those prefer living in winter and cold, habitats. So wet habitats were the main topic for you. Why are they so important for you? We are going to we will see later with the amphibians, but why are these habitats essential when we have to defend biodiversity? Well, because wet environments are places where, because of climate change, but also because of the building of houses, etc., are shrinking. And regional, national, and global level. So these habitats are shrinking, and at the same time, they are their quality is becoming more and more poorer and poorer because of landfill. So if, of course, rivers could flow as they used to do it in the past, we wouldn't have to face this problem. This is an idea, this is an image that was recorded during the CNR ISPRA for monitoring these habitats. Well, actually, these small islands could create and be destroyed in a natural way. And we also know that it's the same with some wet habitats, but unfortunately, we know it's not the same. On these small islands, some birds actually nest and make that nest. Herons, for example, make their nest in a forest or in woods close to the river, close to the banks. And as there are no other places to colonize because we have actually destroyed them, these species cannot nidify in these places, and so we needed to improve their conservation state to create new ones. And for example, all the actions made on a reed bed, if they are not flooded regularly, reed bed cannot survive. So actually we had to intervene and we had to understand the needs of the territory, the priority actions, and to set up some interventions together with the Lombardy region. So this is a bird, sternum, that was on that bank. So you have centered your slogan on these mothers that are annoyed by their children that, for example, go out and in, etc. So this house is not a hotel. What does it mean? It means that we quite often actually use the animal's habitat to do many different things. So for example, we simply see a huge place, an empty place, and of course, as that place is empty, we need to do something. I don't know, to set up a concert, to build a house, or maybe simply walking on it to stroll around that place. But actually, we are co-inhabitants of a house that is also housed by other species. As in our house, we set up some rules, so we should do exactly, and we must do the same within a natural habitat. Because in the old strategy, we are here and nature is there, is true if we do not keep on going on. But as we keep on advancing, we should understand that we live in the same place and we have to live all together. For example, if in some places birds make their nest, maybe we do not go there to sunbathe. I think this strategy can be more effective and efficient, especially for some life species. We need to live together with these species. We have actually always lived with them. We depend on biodiversity for all of our functions. We do depend on biodiversity, and in this period, in this moment, as we are advancing more and more, probably we should change our behaviors. For example, to consecrate half of the space to nature, and we should live in the other half. But probably it will never be possible, and maybe it could even not be right to do it. So we need to learn how to live together. So as in that place where we have spoiled the environment, maybe we should be able to restore. Let's think about the restoration law. So, and Gestire 2020 is the example, the perfect example that we could actually do this. There are funds, so we can work on with the territory to restore those places where that were spoiled by the human activities. How? Well, maybe we could simply do something like that. There are some rafts where herons could go on in order to make their nest.
Le forme di vita naturale rispetto a noi civili della biodiversità. Notiamo le differenze tanto.
There are many different species that can actually adapt themselves. So, of course, if we create, for example, a raft, they could, come there and adapt themselves and make their nap. So it's true that maybe sometimes we cannot go back to what there was before in terms of habitat, but if we can offer a sort of solution, we can be quite happy and proud. So this is an example. That photo was taken throughout the monitoring activities. Here we can see some herons, a couple of herons, that are feeding their babies.
Quindi possiamo anche essere portatori di una certa forma di ottimismo,
so we can be even quite optimistic, can't we? Because if we think about the 80s where we didn't know absolutely anything about nature and our impact, now I can feel that we could change the path and the situation. Well, I do believe that if we weren't optimistic, no one would do our work, especially if we take into account all the facts and figures we see every day. As Petiti was saying before, biodiversity is shrinking. We also have to imagine that if we find a solution for that part, the specific part, we also have to understand that, well, in that way we can do whatever we want in other parts of the Italy. That's not how it works. Our life can be impacted by these drinking. Birds are an indicator of biodiversity. In the caves, the canary bird was used because if something bad happened, the canary died. So that was an indicator, and 70% of biodiversity is shrinking. And of course, and also the 70% of bird life is shrinking, has been lost. And of course, we need to do something to protect bird life and wet habitats, because of course, if we protect these places, we could protect ourselves by from flood and droughts, etc. What Laffy said this morning was really interesting. I would simply change something. If we do create some hydro infrastructures and at the same time we build biodiversity. Well, actually, to us, we need to create biodiversity, and then it's the biodiversity that does everything else. Because if we build something and then biodiversity will be present, probably that's not exactly the right path to follow. We need to change our way of thinking. Thank you very much, Federica Luoni from Lipu. Thank you, Federica.